Hello everyone, and welcome back to the pilot episode of eLab, where we don't just ask dumb questions, we try to answer them too. Amnesia the Bunker is a survival horror game with an emphasis on resource management where you play as Henri Clément. Unfortunately, they were borrowing their sister's pants when the bombs started dropping and the pockets are next to non-existent. So our inventory is a little tighter than normal. Can you beat Amnesia the Bunker with one inventory slot? The rules for this run are simple. We are only allowed to use a single slot in the inventory grid at any given time. Bullets don't go into the inventory grid, and as such, they are fair game. Additionally, the storage box in the office can be used freely as that is not part of the player's inventory. If at any point you mistakenly grab more than one grenade from the cookie jar, simply reload to a prior save, or alternatively, die a painful death. It should be noted for the ultra purists. Technically speaking, the game does save through deaths and reloads. However, I believe this is only for tracking player statistics and doesn't provide any mechanical benefit. Finally, the run will be performed on Shell Shock, which is the hardest official difficulty the game has to offer. While doing the run, I strongly recommend always having the current item visibly in your hands. While I personally never mistakenly grabbed multiple things from the ground, it can't hurt to have your singular tool at the ready. Before we get into the run proper, I should probably address the elephant in our inventory. Why one inventory slot as opposed to 0 inventory slots? Initially, I thought beating the game without collecting any items would be impossible, but as it turns out, I was super wrong. It is possible, and quite easy if you know what you are doing. This game has a very powerful bug called the regrab glitch, where you grab a physics item and release it and then immediately regrab it. This will cause the object to have some weird properties. It phases through the player and you can stand on it while holding it. This has two powerful ramifications. One, if you're against a wall, hold the item inside of yourself correctly and then regrab the item. It will cause you to clip through the wall. Alternatively, if you are holding the item below you, you can stand on it while holding it. If you jump, you go up, the item comes with you, and would you look at that? The player standing on solid ground again. Using these two glitches together allow you to clip out of the starting room and fly over the escape sequence in less than 2 minutes. Shoutouts to Quasar for walking me through the glitch until I understood how it worked. For these reasons, and because I did the entire run before I knew it existed, the regrab glitch is banned entirely. When making a new file, the game gives us the option to skip the intro. Playing the intro isn't explicitly required, I just thought it would be interesting. As we spawn into the game, we are unable to see our inventory, but we spawn with the gun already in our possession. The gun is considered an important item, which means the player is not allowed to drop it. So we won't be able to pick anything else up until we get into the bunker proper. We make our way through the trenches as normal, breaking down this door, and then we get ambushed by some German soldiers. Don't worry, they suck at their job. After pushing through the wall of buckshot, we come to the first real roadblock. The game wants us to use a grenade to blow up this locked door. But in order to throw the grenade, we would have to pick it up, which means we would have to drop the gun, which we cannot do. Luckily, we have another option. Reload and make your way back to where we encountered the first locked door. The game wants us to use the brick to break this door, but it is technically capable of breaking any wooden door, including the one that the game wants us to explode with the forbidden yo-yo. The brick in the tutorial is special and will break after destroying a single door. Fortunately for us, there are some physics objects lying around that we can use to climb over the door. Be careful carrying the brick over to the next door. If the brick is grounded on this side of the door, it will automatically teleport back to its original location, presumably as an anti-soft lock mechanism. Although, after hitting the door for the first time, the brick will probably land on the ground anyway, but you can just grab some planks and hop back over to retrieve the brick after it teleports away. After this, the rest of the trenches and crater sequence are identical to a normal playthrough. The first thing that you should do once you get into the game proper is set the gamma to the max, because the flashlight being in our inventory would be slightly problematic. In the office, we meet our best friend, the storage box. This can be used to deposit important items such as the flashlight and gun, should you happen to pick them up, as well as store items in general. Additionally, you can use it to craft items such as bandages and, actually it's more or less exclusively bandages, as there is not much reason to make fuel bottles. Additionally, the petrol bomb and the torch require the lighter to be in your inventory to use, so they are not able to be used anyway. In order to escape the bunker, we will need two main things, the dynamite bundle and the detonator handle. The former is in the arsenal, and the latter is in the Roman tunnels. Both areas have a few prerequisites to access, and the game allows you to go after these objectives in mostly any order. I didn't do my run in a cohesive fashion, so we won't be following my playthrough one-to-one. Rather, I will be jumping around the timeline, explaining how I would recommend doing the run. One final thing. When I did this run, I was personally banning using save reload or brute force to open combination locks without physically acquiring the code first, because if you do that, it allows you to cut out at least half the game. First, go ahead and end the lockdown as normal, and after that, go to Soldier's Quarters. It possesses the code to enter the main section of Arsenal. We won't be able to get the code right away as we need to power this area of the map to acquire it. This run is being done on Shell Shock difficulty, which means the 4 main sections of the map have a fuse box which needs to have a fuse installed in order to power its respective map. One of these will have a fuse pre-installed, randomly selected on save file creation. It doesn't end up mattering too much, but if you want a slight assist, reload until the starter fuse is not in maintenance. This is the only area that won't need power at some point. You can check which area has the fuse on the map in the office, but even without the fuse, we can do the majority of this area without power. The door to the room with the code is locked. The key to this door is on one of the beds in the barracks. You can either break into the security room to find a note telling you exactly where it is, or you can just look around a bit until you find it. In my run, I simply looked around until I found the key, but in retrospect, I wish I had required myself to get the note. If you wish to play this way, you can either use a brick or a grenade to open the door. If there are rats in the way, you can lure them with meat and then drag a brick across, or burn the corpse. Look around for a brick and carry it down the hall to the utility room. If at any point you feel unsafe, do your best to leave the barracks or get to a hiding spot nearby. If you manage to leave the area and the beast is not close behind you, the game will force them to enter the walls, allowing you to effectively despawn them and go back in while they reset. If they do not enter the walls and are still behind you, just keep walking and enter the next closest loading zone. This should be enough to force them into the walls. If you have a hard time telling if they have entered the walls or not, you can enable subtitles in the settings, as well as directional indicators to tell where the sound is coming from. If there are rats in front of the door to the utility room, use the brick to break into the break room. The door might be trapped, so be ready to run if it makes too much noise. The brick will be able to destroy one door and then the lock to the utility room before shattering. If you used the same brick on the security door, you might have to go and find another brick, should you not have a gun at this point to break the lock with. Flip the switch, and try to also flip the switch in the communications room itself if you can manage it. While nearby the kitchen, you can jump up on this barricade and drop items over into the first section of the map, allowing for much easier retrieval of loot. If you find a fuse at any point, go ahead and install it here. For me, the fuse priority order is communications, and then prison, and then arsenal. Okay, so I was going to use this section to explain that in Shell Shock, you need to use fuel to save, and that it's a super valuable resource, and you shouldn't get the arsenal code right away, because you can use a single fuel to get the clippers and the code if you're fast enough. And it is valuable. Fuel is needed to save in Shell Shock, as well as burn rat corpses. But after doing an extra playthrough of the game to get more footage, I realized that I'm a dumbass. As long as you're not actively drinking the fuel and burning everything to the ground, you will have more than enough to spare. So feel free to grab the arsenal code now if you want. Next, head to maintenance. There are 3 guaranteed fuel spawns in the clerk's office, as well as a guaranteed fuel bottle plus a hiding closet in the foreman's quarters. Make your way to the workshop to take a look at the rat tunnel. This tunnel can contain up to 3 rat corpses, so it can be a big fuel sink if you get unlucky. Now you could take some fuel, splash the corpse, run back to grab a lighting method, run back and ignite the corpse, but my mom always told me to work smarter and not harder. Introducing the ultimate in one inventory technology, the bucket. So make your way back to the office and grab your bucket. Henri wasn't used to playing hide-and-seek with monsters, but that is of no concern. He knew all would be well so long as he had his bucket, for he could use his bucket to brave the perilous bunker with multiple items at his disposal. Now, Henri knew very well that the bucket could not protect him from the beast, should it find him, but the way it carried his spare grenade somehow calmed him. And after making his way back to the rat tunnel, he would take it and... So thanks to the bucket tech, we are able to bring both a meat and a grenade to the rat tunnel. Sadly, this grenade would never see its destiny, as I immediately forget I brought it with me after distracting the rats. I would recommend fully clearing the rats if possible, as distracting the rats only helps if you have meat on the other side to use to get back through. You can use a grenade to break into the munitions store to get up to the pillbox, or alternatively go over to the cathedral to get the key to the pillbox. After you get to the pillbox, you can rest a bit. The beast can't climb the ladder, so once you're a certain distance up, you are fully safe, so long as you don't step outside to clear your head. After grabbing the dog tag, don't drop down just yet. If you wait long enough, the beast will eventually come over and break the barricade blocking access to the munitions store where there are probably some more grenades. If you entered the pillbox through the munitions storeroom, go ahead and skip the previous 28 seconds of the video. I got lucky with a meat spawn that allowed me to get back through the rat tunnel. By this point, you should have hopefully found a second fuse to use in prison. If you haven't, check the entrance to Arsenal. There are a couple potential spawn spots before the locked door. After making it back to the main hub, dip into mission storage to grab the wrench. We will need it in a bit. Put it into storage and make your way down to the prison. The prison is the smallest part of the map, and additionally, it is a bit of a dead end if you get stuck down the wrong hallway, especially with the prisoner yelling and screaming constantly, attracting the beast. Punish him for crimes he has yet to commit. And after filling in a column on your Geneva board, you'll notice he was sitting next to a pair of very important looking chain cutters. You can use a nearby brick to destroy this locked door, or a grenade if you have one. Leave and return with the wrench. We will need it to get into the control room to open the cell door. You should have enough time to just push through in one motion. Open up the vent, flip the switches to the cells, and get the hell out of there. If the spooky man shows up before you have left, wait in the control room until they pass by. Do one last dip into prison and communications to activate any traps on the way to the Arsenal code and the clippers. Depending on how much fuel you have left, you might want to do this in one trip. With a single unit of fuel in the generator, there is enough time to run down to the prison, grab the clippers, turn around and book it straight to communications, run up and get the code. Normally the code takes a bit of time to collect as you have to wait for the message to finish playing. But if you start, stop, and then restart the message manually, it will give you the code without playing the full thing. So long as you have a clear path and you don't waste too much time, you should be able to get both objectives with plenty of fuel to spare. Additionally, around this point, the beast is likely to spawn out of the wall near the detonator station. Just ignore him and his sad attempt to aura farm. Before heading into Arsenal, I recommend dipping into the entrance to the Roman tunnels. It is possible to do the tunnels before Arsenal, but that's not why we are here. The beast is unable to enter this room, but he is capable of hearing you. So you can run about and make a bunch of noise while the spooky man destroys a lot of barricades in the main room. While this isn't strictly necessary, it can definitely be helpful to open up extra pathways, especially depending on where traps and rats spawn. If you have grenades or bullets to spare, I recommend using them to blow open some extra paths if the beast missed them. With the exception of one grenade, we won't be needing them again. Dip back into the tunnels to hide when needed. When you are ready to commit, take one more trip out to the loading zone to deload the beast. Then make your way to grab the dynamite bundle. It is possible to grab the dynamite bundle through the wall by crouching to push your collision through the wall slightly. I opted not to do this because that would be lame. You are almost certainly going to get cornered at some point. If they end up tripping over an explosive barrel, they will retreat for a short time, allowing you to book it out of there. Otherwise, play it safe and just do your best to sneak out. If you can get past them, sneak a bit longer, but the moment they notice you, run. So long as you don't get lost or trip over a rat, you are home free. I personally have never gotten caught after this point. After getting out of the main part of Arsenal, don't run for the main exit. Dip back into the tunnels to wait out their aggro. They will almost certainly be using the wall passages to catch up to you, and with how long it takes them to actually enter and leave the walls, you should have more than enough time to get into safety. Honestly, after you start getting a feel for how the beast behaves, it becomes quite easy to maneuver around them, only really getting into trouble around dead ends. Place the dynamite bundle and then grab the cutters if you haven't already opened the door to the tunnels. You will need one final fuse to allow power to connect to Arsenal. If you haven't found a third by now, do another sweep of the map. Here are all the valid spots where fuses can spawn. Additionally, each area can spawn a maximum of 2 fuses, with the exception of prison, which can only spawn 1. On Shell-Shocked, the game will spawn a total of 4 fuses, excluding the fuse that is pre-installed. Although do note that there is always the possibility that I don't know what I am talking about. I pulled this info from the game's code and level files, so I think it's accurate, but it's possible I missed something regarding the item placement algorithm. After the fuses are accounted for, power up the generator one last time and drain the water blocking access to the tunnels. If you have fuel to spare, I recommend dropping a grenade by the lantern and then saving. Take the grenade and blow the shotgunner into smithereens. Grab the detonator handle and blow open the path to the final encounter, but don't jump down just yet. Go back and grab the rabbit. No run of bunker is complete without the rabbit. If you don't grab the rabbit, your run is invalid. Nah, just kidding. But this puts us in a tricky situation. In the escape sequence, you have 2 ways of leaving. Either blowing up the wooden platform and dropping the beast into the abyss, or by stacking boxes and climbing over the wall. As you might be able to tell from the lack of footage, I never learned how to do the latter strat. So we will need to get a grenade and the rabbit into the escape room. My first instinct was to use our old friend the bucket again, but sadly this doesn't work. For whatever reason, when the player passes the loading zone into the escape sequence, any items in the world are deleted. So even if we carried something in our bucket, the game would erase it anyway. Fortunately, there is a solution. There are wooden boxes in the room immediately prior to the arena. These have a chance to drop items when broken, and one of those items is the grenade. So we just have to keep reloading until we get lucky. I hope you had one last fuel lying around. After we finally get the grenade to drop, pray to every god and demon you can pronounce the name of so that you don't fuck up the timing. Wait with bated breath, and if you hear confirmation that your soul has been claimed, you are already free. Grab the bunny and get the hell out of there. Yes, it is 100% possible to beat Amnesia the Bunker with only one inventory slot, even with the restriction of not being allowed to ignore the laws of physics. Additionally, while I was getting some extra footage recorded, I discovered that you can 100% the entire game. The only thing that needs multiple inventory slots is the lighter interactions, that being the petrol bomb and the torch, neither of which is required for anything of substance. Well, there we go. This is my first time making anything like this, so please let me know what I did well and what I did shit. If you enjoy shenanigans like this, I often stream challenge runs live, as well as play blind playthroughs of games. If you wish to see the full uncut run, I'll leave a link to it on my Stream VOD channel in the description. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.